The night had started like any other at Murphy's Roadhouse, a dusty biker bar on the edge of town where the jukebox never seemed to stop, and the smell of beer lingered in the air like an unshakable ghost. Waitresses weaved between the crowded tables carrying pitchers and plates, dodging rough laughter and rowdy slaps on the back. Among them was Emily Carter, a woman in her early 30s with kind eyes and a quiet strength about her. Most saw only her warm smile and easygoing nature, but Emily carried stories she rarely shared, memories etched into her skin and soul. To the regulars, she was Em, the hard-working waitress who never complained no matter how long the shift. But beneath her button-up shirt, across her shoulder blade, was a mark of her past, a United States Marine Corps tattoo, bold and permanent, a reminder of the years she had spent in deserts far away, where every day was a battle for survival. It was a Thursday night when the trouble began. A biker gang from out of town rolled in, their engines growling like thunder as they parked outside. The moment they entered, the atmosphere shifted. Leather jackets, steel chains, tattoos covering arms and necks, these weren't the usual locals. Their leader, a burly man named Razor, carried himself with the arrogance of someone used to intimidating others. The bar quieted for just a second before the music and chatter picked up again, but unease spread through the room. Emily felt it immediately. Years in the Marines had taught her to read danger like a sixth sense. She kept working, delivering beers and fries, staying polite but cautious. Razor noticed her almost instantly. His eyes lingered too long, his smirk curling with mischief. "Hey sweetheart," he called when she approached their table. "Bring us another round." And maybe a smile to go with it. Emily gave a polite nod, not encouraging him but not provoking either. She knew men like this, testing boundaries, feeding off reactions. When she returned with the beers, Razor leaned back in his chair, blocking her path with his arm. "You know," he said loudly so the whole table could hear, "a pretty girl like you don't belong in a dump like this. Bet you got a secret under that shirt." Laughter erupted from his men. Emily stiffened but forced her way past him, keeping her composure. But Razor wasn't done. As she turned to leave, he reached out suddenly, grabbing the edge of her shirt and yanking it hard enough to rip the fabric. Gasps filled the room. The laughter turned into silence. Emily froze, every instinct from her military training screaming to act. But before she could say a word, the room had already noticed what Razor's careless hand had revealed, the bold, unmistakable insignia of the United States Marine Corps inked proudly across her shoulder. The air grew heavy. Razor's smirk faltered. His hand dropped. In that instant, Emily stood taller. She didn't need to shout, didn't need to raise a fist. The tattoo spoke louder than anything she could have said. It was a symbol of discipline, sacrifice, and a brotherhood that extended far beyond the walls of that bar. "You made a mistake," she said calmly, her voice steady but edged with steel. "You don't lay hands on me. Ever." The silence was deafening. Razor's men shifted uneasily, exchanging glances. Even the locals, some of whom had faced their own battles in uniform, sat straighter, eyes locked on Emily. Razor tried to laugh it off, but it rang hollow. "Relax, doll. Just a joke." Emily's gaze didn't waver. "You think it's funny? I've stared down men twice your size in places you wouldn't survive a day. You want to push me, go ahead. But I promise you won't win." Her words weren't shouted, but they carried a weight that silenced every murmur in the bar. For a long moment, Razor said nothing. Then, with a grunt, he muttered something under his breath and signaled his men. One by one, they drained their beers and shuffled out, their bravado gone. The bar erupted in applause the moment the door slammed shut. Emily exhaled slowly, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She hadn't thrown a punch, hadn't needed to. Her strength wasn't in her fists but in her presence, her history, the battles she had already fought and won. Afterward, several patrons came up to thank her. One older man, a Vietnam veteran, clasped her hand and whispered, "Semper Fi." Emily smiled, the weight of her past and present meeting in that single moment. For so long, she had kept her Marine Corps service hidden, not wanting pity or praise. But tonight reminded her, her story wasn't something to hide. It was something to own. Challenges Emily faced. Her journey hadn't been easy. After years in the Marines, adjusting to civilian life had been its own battlefield. She faced sleepless nights, memories that haunted her, and a sense of not belonging. Working at Murphy's was supposed to be simple, a quiet way to rebuild. But moments like tonight reminded her that courage isn't only tested on foreign soil, it's tested every day, in small towns, in ordinary places, when someone needs to stand up and say enough. She struggled with fear too, the fear that confronting Razor might escalate, that violence could break out, that she could lose the job she depended on. Yet she chose to stand her ground, not just for herself but for every person in that bar who needed to see that bullying and intimidation don't win. Resolution and message. From that night on, Emily wasn't just the waitress anymore. She became a symbol in her small town, a reminder that true strength doesn't always come with fists or fury, but with dignity, resilience, and an unshakable spirit. Her story spread beyond Murphy's. People who had been quiet victims of intimidation found courage in her example. Veterans in town sought her out, and together they built a community of support. Emily realized that her service wasn't behind her, it was still alive in the way she lived, in the way she inspired others to stand tall. And the lesson remained: sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought overseas but right here at home, when you're called to defend your dignity, your honor, and your worth. Call to action for your channel. And that's Emily's story, a story of courage, dignity, and the power of standing up against those who try to tear us down. If this story touched your heart, I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Emily's shoes that night? Share your thoughts in the comments, I read every single one of them. And if you believe in spreading kindness, courage, and strength through stories like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next one. This is Be Kind Always, where stories remind us that no matter how dark the world gets, kindness and courage will always light the way.